If you've already had a look at the parsing get variables in an array through a URL, you'll understand the way that this works. Now, post is slightly different. What post does is it takes these variables, but this time the data is going to be processed through the HTTP post method. And the way this works is it will not display in the URL. So remember last time we had the index.php file, which is what we're working with at the moment, and we had name equals Alex and we had age equals 21. It's not actually going to do this, it's going to be completely hidden. But obviously it's more common for things to be processed through post. For everything really you should use it, except if you need to have the URL containing this information. Like if you were posting it without a form, for example. If I told someone to go to this web address and then say at the end value equals something, and I specifically redirected users or told users to do that, that would probably be a viable way to use this then. However, the post is, like I said, slightly different, and what we're going to be doing in this example is, following on from the get example, we're going to be creating another form, but this time we're going to be leading a user to a specific page if they've entered a password correctly. So this is password, basically checking for a password. So up here I'm going to start to create my form. Now the action is going to be the same. We're going to index.php and the method is going to be post this time rather than the previous get. So the method here is post. We end the form and I'm just going to say something simple, please enter your password. Okay, and then we're going to do a line break and we're going to have an input type. Let's just sort that out. And this time the input type is going to be password rather than text. This just basically the browser stars out or asterisks out the text that's being typed into this field. And then we say name equals password. Oh, password, if I can spell it correctly. Okay, so then we're going to break down again, and we can just put, I've done that again, we can just put a submit button in there as well. Pause, submit. No, what we'll do is value equals submit. That's the text that's displayed on the button. So let's just preview this to make sure it's looking okay. Okay, so please enter your password. The password will go in here. You can see that the browser's getting rid of the text that I'm typing in, and we need a way for PHP to handle it. The first thing I'm going to do is set the password that I want to work, and I'm just going to set this to password, a weak password basically. Now what I want to do is use the isSet and the empty functions to check if the variable has been passed and whether it equals something or not. So I'm going to say if isSet and then in brackets dollar, because we are dealing with a function, $_post, and then inside there, we don't need the semicolon, password. So essentially we're wrapping this post variable that will be sent. Remember, password here, the name of this field, corresponds to this inside here, and we're putting that inside the isSet function. Now if this condition evaluates to true, we can carry on, otherwise we can do something else. But for now we just want to show nothing. So I'm going to write echo submitted. This is just basically debugging. It's going to show me that the form has been submitted and that this password field is set. So let's refresh. I'm going to type anything in here, click submit, and we should be sent with a confirmation. There we are. So we'll refresh that. So this is evaluated to true if we've typed something in. If it's set, we don't necessarily have to type something in. Now what we can do is on the same thing we can say and not empty $_post. Oh, again we don't need that. Password. So we're checking simultaneously if it's been set and that it doesn't, and then that it's not empty, the field isn't empty. So submitted and filled. Now if I was to just submit the form, nothing happens. We're not given any message at all. Now if I was to type anything in there and click submit, you can see that I've given this message. So we're double checking. This is a really, really good way for form validation, or basic form validation anyway. And you've also probably noticed that up here we're not processing any variables like name equal, well in this case it would be password equals, and I actually typed here into the password form like that. So this does no longer correspond to something that the user can see up here, which is again great because we're not showing the password data. So now if the password has been is okay, we can say echo out correct password. I did mention at the start of this tutorial we'll be redirecting the user to a page. I'm not actually going to do that in this example. I'm just going to print out correct password. So at the moment the password equals password. Now what I want to do is actually check for the right password, because it's all well and good someone typing something in and it being there, but we actually need to check if the password is equal. So we create another if statement and the block to follow, and we say if if $_post password equals, remember this is equal to password, remember the variable up here where we've set the password, then we echo correct, and then otherwise echo incorrect. Okay, so let's give that a whirl, and then I'm going to give you a tip just to create your code so it's a bit more easy to use. So let's just refresh the page. I'm going to type here in there and click submit, and we're getting a message just saying incorrect. Now if I type password in there and I click submit, it says correct. So we've successfully compared a password through a form. Now this value here, it's probably always best to, if we get rid of that and we create a variable here saying password post equals, and we're going to make that equal to that. Therefore inside here we can use it at a later date without having to refer to the post. So I can just say password post like that. It's simple. And then it will still work. So password enter is correct.